All right, we are on air. It is Thursday, August 9th, in this part of the world. And this is a meeting to check in on community outreach for Backdrop CMS. We are going to start this meeting, rather than talking about all the stuff on our agenda, which is mostly unchanged. We're going to start by talking about all the new exciting stuff that's going on, which is mostly in the land of getting new contributors and making that process easier and more streamlined. So Gregory, you've been the one who's hanging out in Gitter talking to everyone about all the new ideas. Do you want to give us an update on where we are with that?
Yeah, sure. So there's been, up to now, we had people coming and requesting to join the Contrib group that had recently ported or thinking about porting a module. But recently we had use cases where there's people that are part of a team that want to join the Contrib group and maintain the same module, but that they don't necessarily have any anything ported, or they're not maintainers of respective Contrib modules in d.org. So thankfully, there was a condition that I had completely forgotten about, stating in our agreement that we have these 3 rules for every new contributor, that they have to have specific rules met before they get accepted. And this all had to do with actually getting a repo and porting something. But there was a rule that was saying, if you don't have any code to present, then at least one person needs to endorse you or vouch for you. And there were thoughts about extending that specific rule to say at least one person needs to vouch for you, and then there have to be some pull requests against any contrib or core, just sort of to vouch that this person is trustworthy, I guess. And this all revolves around also the fact that our when someone joins the Backdrop Contrib, the Backdrop Contrib group, they automatically get access to commit, to merge to all Contrib projects. And this might not have been a problem so far because we're not such a big community, but it starts getting scary for some people, and they started mentioning it. We have tickets that a ticket open that we were discussing alternatives, but this has not been done. And then the other thing that we need to discuss also is, we did mention forming a Contrib squad, something like a group of people that would, so that when there's patches for fixing things in Contrib modules that seem to be abandoned, but the person that has contributed the patch does not necessarily to join the group, we need to find a way to actually get the patch committed for the benefit of the rest of the community using that module, without forcing that person to become a maintainer, or temporarily accept to be a maintainer and then give up. So yeah, these are the 3 points, the 3 main points. There was at some point also a thought to integrate backdrop.org, backdropcms.org with GitHub, so people can authenticate with their GitHub accounts. But this has not moved on. So yeah, basically these are the things that came up.
Okay. For starters, I had in my memory for some reason that we required 2 people to vouch for the person that was applying, but when I read the documentation the other day, it does definitely say 1. So I think in a previous issue somewhere, I had responded to someone who was requesting access and said they needed 2 people. I was wrong with that, so I don't know if it's worth reviewing that issue. It's one of the ones that didn't have code, so I think there aren't very many of those. And correcting it to say that that person only needs 1. And that, I don't know if we ever changed that or if I just had it wrong in my head. But anyway, that person shouldn't be blocked on finding another person to recommend them, but that's an issue. About requiring code from people, I think that that's an unnecessary hurdle. We have, seen from the Drupal community that when you require too many things, you lose contributors very substantially. And so one of the things I really like about Backdrop is that anyone can get in. We do have this concern, though, with if everyone who gets in has commit access to all projects, that does open up potential issues. And when we first set up Backdrop Contrib, GitHub's access control works differently than it does now, where now we actually have the ability to limit people's access to individual projects, or we didn't originally. So I think we should try and figure out a better policy around new contributors. Like if they put in their own module, it makes sense to give them commit access to that module or VMware layout. If they're requesting co-maintainership on a specific project, I think we should grant them access to whatever those projects are, but maybe we shouldn't automatically make everybody have access to everything. So I don't know what the technical challenges are to doing that. If we just need to like spend a day looking at all of the current people and aligning them with their projects in order to get it up to date, or if we should just start with new people who are requesting applications, making sure that they have the right access on whatever it is, and leave all the people who are currently in there alone. I would love it if we could figure out like the exact logic that we need and write that into a ticket for the GitHub automation tool. So I know we have an issue already that's like fixed GitHub permissions for Contrib. If we could figure out what the permissions are that we want for people who are supposedly maintainers for the modules, or any new applicants going forward, there might be a way that we can automate that. So we could say like when the issue for maintainership is approved, I don't know, like do something on the back end.
Because the way that we have been doing things now is we ask people to transfer the project. In the case that they have actually ported a module, we ask them to transfer the project into Backdrop Contrib. And then because they are members of the whole Contrib group, they don't have to have any special permissions. But if we sort of like limit the permissions or downgrade the permissions that people are getting now, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to transfer the project, or if we would have to do it on their behalf and then assign ownership for that person. I'm not sure how it's going to work, but it is a valid concern, that security concern, when we grant, like especially as we have more and more Contrib projects and more people coming in. And even that vouching thing might become a backdoor, because someone can have 2 accounts, register and then vouch for themselves as a separate person, in theory. So if we mitigate that fact by having certain people, if they don't contribute code, which automatically, if they get accepted, will make them owners of that specific project, then we ask them to nominate which Contrib modules they want to contribute against, and then we give them permission only to that. Yeah. And we reserve the current authors. That's the name of the group, for the bug squad or the Contrib squad that we were saying, which are very trusty people that have access to everything. People that have proven to work on documentation, fixing things. And I guess if a person has proven themselves and they've been working on tickets for like a year or so, and they're active, I guess trust will build up. It doesn't have to be a specific amount of time. As soon as people trust them enough, we'll give them access.
Yeah. I would also love it if we could figure out some criteria to like automatically add people to the bug squad too.
A few of the wait, so we can automatically check if the repo that they are creating has the GPL license thing. We can automatically check if it has a README. We do require that the README also mentions contributors, the original authors, but there's no easy to like parse to automatically parse a README in. Like it needs to be double checked.
Yeah.
And then the other condition, what was it? That they maintain. Yes, and this I guess again. Yeah, it will have to be some work, but I think it's doable.
Yeah. So I think that we just need to write down what those criteria are in a ticket somewhere for someone to work on. And I think Kevin started talking about this last week too, where he has some people that might have some time that can work on our GitHub integration stuff. If we can point them at the tickets that need to be worked on. And I think that starting out Contrib is high on his priority list, so that would be really good. Automatic. Okay.
Sorry, I'm messing it up for you.
Sorry, I'm messing it up for myself. There we go. Spelling is hard. Okay. So we just need to figure out what the steps are to get from where we are now to what we want to be. And I think all of these ideas are good. We just need to figure out how to technically get it done. I also think like maybe it would be worthwhile leaving our authors group alone in terms of access and setting up a new Bug Squad group. And then once we figure out like our process for getting new people onboarded, like they wouldn't become part of the authors group, they would just be finished to their own projects. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like if we want to make sure, because our current situation, like not necessarily everyone has access to their own project. If we were to change the permissions on the authors group in any way, they might accidentally lose access to their project. So I wouldn't want to remove any permissions from that group. And I do think we want to have a very specific, like this person is on the Bug Squad process in place too. So I think just adding a new group, we'll just add a new group, and then we can figure out if we need to do anything with authors later. I'm sure leave it alone for the time being.
We can try contacting each person individually, or do you think that once we have the new permission scheme thing in place, we start moving people, like going through projects and seeing who is listed as a maintainer and we move them?
Yeah, well, hopefully we can find a way to automate that.
Okay.
The question is though, like if the README has their GitHub username on it, or if it doesn't, like if it's their real name, that might be hard. Yeah.
That's why I said that certain things needs to be metadata, like in the .info file. If we had emails there, maybe we would, I don't know, somehow. Because I think that GitHub, when you invite people, it says username or email or something like that.
Yeah, but that's hard too, because sometimes people use their like work emails and they wouldn't want to like lose all of their access if they change jobs.
Yeah, I didn't say it's an easy job. I understand that it's hard, especially since we haven't been doing it. It will have to be done if we decide to do such a thing. It will have to be done for all projects, which is hard work. But my idea was that the community is small now. We're just beginning. Of course, there's like hundreds of modules that are imported, but if we start doing it from now on, it will lessen the problem, I guess, along the way, along the run. Anyway, baby steps.
Good ideas all around. We just need to figure it out.
Yep.
All right. So let's see. Next up, website. We obviously need to make some more updates to the website. In particular, Map Themes and Layout pages have changes underway or coming soon. Issue number 442 is where we documented all the things we would like to improve about the process of finding and selecting Map Themes and Layouts. I think the security page is up, so I can remove this one. /security. Gregory, I think you switched the order of the paragraphs about our security team versus the Drupal security team, which is great. Someone fixed that. Yeah, so if anyone has any feedback on the security page, it has been moved into the main navigation underneath the About section, as well as being linked in the footer. And that also includes a list of all of our security advisories. So a little more information there for people. All right, blog posts. Let's see, we have a recent blog post.
Sorry, Jen, one thing that is not mentioned on our page from what I see now, see in d.org, they have, they also state this, the frequency, like when security releases are scheduled, like every second Wednesday of the month or something like that. Do we follow the same, I guess? When it comes to security problems that affect both projects, I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
But there was this one case that we had a specific problem that wasn't applicable. So in these cases, what is it like? We release as soon as possible, or schedule?
Yeah, it's always on Wednesday, and it's the soonest Wednesday possible.
Okay. Maybe we'll need to add this information there then as well.
Yeah, I would say we should look at Drupal's language and copy that. Although ours isn't, it's not the same date, because ours is just any Wednesday. If we don't have to manage like security releases with non-security releases on the same schedule.
Yep.
Okay, back to blog posts. We have a recent blog post if anyone is curious about how Drupal Camp LA runs. Jason wrote a great blog post about that, which is great. We would love more blog posts if anyone has anything Backdrop related they want to share with the community. Anyone with a Backdrop CMS.org account can log in and create a blog post, and it will get reviewed hopefully weekly. If you want it reviewed sooner than that, you can jump in, Gitter, and ask anyone in there to take a look at it. And there are a handful of people with editorial control on the site who can read, review, and publish blog posts. We have good ideas for things coming up, including announcing integration with the Software Freedom Conservancy, our security process, integrations with external services, new community spotlights, which our marketing team is working on. They have reviewed the GitHub issue. They're looking over the questions we're going to ask. They're going to make some recommendations to different questions, and then we're going to start reaching people in the community and getting interviews for them to get those ready for our site. Backdrop new releases, and anything else relevant anyone wants to talk about, we'd love to hear about. Newsletter, I don't think we've sent a newsletter in a while, so as soon as we have some news that is worthy of sending, that can go out. Generally, we like to synchronize that with blog posts. So if we have enough Drupal events, we might do one newsletter that summarizes the last few blog posts from Drupal events. So Drupal from Colorado was last weekend. I'll see if I can get someone to do a write-up on that as well.
Yesterday, I got official response, at least to my request to apply for a session in Drupal South.
Yeah.
So the official response is that I'm free to do whatever I want with regards to that, but not as part of my agency, because they're focused. Yeah, because it's true. We are focused on enterprise and government, which is not, Backdrop is not part of our agenda. So I have until the 25th, I think, of August to apply. So the last time that I presented there was when we were invited 2 years ago. So I know now that there's so many things that have changed that 45 minutes or 50 or whatever it is not going to be enough to present, like to do a proper demo of everything. But yeah, and I'm also looking for something like a catchy title, like Backdrop CMS 2 years after or something like that. So hopefully I'll get accepted.
That'd be great.
I'm looking for ways to find, I mentioned that before, other people in Australia that are Backdrop members. I know BW Panda was, but he seems to have moved in Europe now.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember, I think there was another person, but yeah, anyways.
Did you look at Previous Next?
Yeah, Previous Next is one.
They're in Australia.
Yes, it's Previous Next and Reality Loop. There's big agencies, but I'm not sure. They're as well, like, focused in D8.
Okay.
Everyone here is excited about that because the new GovCMS project thing is moving to D8 as well. So our agency is building the actual distribution or helping with that. So yeah.
There is, let me see here.
I'm actually a member of a, not Slack, is it a Slack channel? I think, yes, it's a Slack channel that is, there's a Drupal AU and a Drupal Melbourne thing. I was hesitant to mention the big word.
PackWeb.
But yes, I'll do it. I'll say. Sure.
It's PackWeb I was thinking of.
Who?
PackWeb, PACKWEB. These guys here, I'll send you a link. They're Australian Drupal company who are moving to Backdrop.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember he's based in Sydney. Yeah.
I would reach out to them and see who it is there,
Yeah.
and if they want to do. I don't know where they are in Australia, but.
Okay, will be cool. Thanks.
Okay. Also, did you create a forum post about local meetups? No, I thought I wanted to do that too, but I got distracted last week. But I think we should set up a new forum topic about local meetup groups, or I don't even maybe even a new forum.
There are,
or people can start to talk about their where they are located in the world and if they want to have meetups.
There is a local meetup that is happening weekly, I think, if not weekly, bi-weekly, and that's a mentoring, Drupal mentoring session. I've been to one, and then there's the Drupal Melbourne sort of like meetup, which is the actual non-mentoring sessions. But this was meant to be happening frequently, but it's like we only had 2 this year. So I'm not sure if I can hook up with any, like in any of these. Yeah, I'll see. It takes time to organize these things, and it's like my time is very limited. It would help a lot if there was another enthusiast locally here, so we can start something up. If I can find a free place that can host us, I wouldn't mind showing up and waiting, even if no one showed up initially.
Yeah, so I'm here largely because this is my angle. I'm looking to do a Bay Area Backdrop meetup. So the question of just when we should schedule the first one. Am I jumping ahead of the time to talk about that?
I was going to ask you if you could create a new forum topic I created a category in the forum. Whether you could do one here too.
Under other, or is there like a?
I made one called Meetup and Events.
Yeah. The bad thing with me is that I'm not a social person. Like I don't have the Twitters and the Facebooks and stuff like that, so I don't follow the forum either. I'll try to follow as much as I can there, but my time is very limited, as everyone's. But yeah, it just gets too much at some point.
Oh, it's not visible if you're not logged in, which is why I didn't see it.
Oh, really? Oh, maybe it's weird. Oh, it's because it's cached. That's fine. Right. It'll show up in like an hour.
All right, I see it now. So yeah, I'll chime in there and.
Okay. All right. Let's see videos. If anyone has any ideas of cool things going on in Backup you want to show off, great 5-minute videos are really great for sharing via social media and otherwise. Speaking of social media, I noticed that tweets no longer automatically end up in Facebook anymore. So that's going to probably change the way we have to promote things a little bit. But fun times. So speaking of tweeting, if there's anything super timely that we should be tweeting about, we can. It looks like Alex added a comment here. Exploring backed up CMS to Drupal. Those are going to be great. So yeah, I will make sure I'm following Alex so I can see those. But also anyone else, if you see anything really cool going on with Backdrop, please share. Mentions, Gregory, was there a blog post that you read recently, or is that doesn't exist yet?
I added one.
Okay.
But it wasn't mentioning Backdrop in a good way. It was an old one from back 2014 that was saying why forking Drupal is not a good thing. But still, there were some comments there, and I was about to add one. And to be fair, we should add it.
Yeah.
Because there were opinions, and I was about to respond at some point. I'm not sure if I respond. Oh, I have the tab open, actually. It's a lengthy response. Oh, yeah, it was cast. Anyways, so at some point I'll respond, but some of the comments were pretty laughable. So yeah, something about the imminent death of the project and stuff like that. And I was about to say, 4 years later, guess what? But yeah, anyways.
All right, but yeah, I think you were talking to Alex about his comparison stuff.
Yes, so I'll leave it up to him. I didn't read the recent comments. I asked a question if he would like to cross-post it, because it wasn't an article. It was sort of like a how-to as well, and it feels as if this would belong to the documentation or the blogging section. But yeah, and I asked if you wanted to consider, cross-posting it. I'll wait for his response. If he doesn't want to cross-post it, he was having this issue with his account, or I wasn't sure that Alex account was actually his account. Did you see anything?
I think it's someone else. So I checked the email address on it. It looks like it's someone else entirely.
Yeah. I have this weird thing. I have this autofill, which is horrible. It's good in some cases, but when I log in and I check other people's profiles, it replaces everything with my details. So I need to disable that. Yes, I know. Still keep the thing. Yeah. But I'll add the mention. I actually started adding the mention to the actual article in what was the site? Medium.com. I'll do that. I'll finish that up as soon as the meeting is done.
Okay, sounds good.
Yep, no worries.
All right, so the last Drupal event last weekend was Drupal Colorado. It went really well. So the most exciting thing for us, I think, is that CU Boulder, which is where Alex and Kevin work, are seriously considering moving their Drupal platform to Backdrop. They have over 1,000 sites. They're currently on Drupal, and they're really concerned about the cost of moving not only the 1,000 sites, but the infrastructure up to Drupal 8. It's going to be a huge burden on their small team to support not only the hosting, but also the sites on a platform, because they have a bunch of custom integration stuff. So we went and talked to them for a day about, how would we solve problem X, Y, and Z in Backdrop. And I think we answered most of their questions. We left the end of the day with them kind of itching to jump in and try things, which is why I think you're now seeing a lot of them in the Backdrop business stuff, because they're giving it all a go, which is great. But the best part about having them being seriously interested in Backdrop is that they, I think, have been talking to the local Drupal community in Colorado about Backdrop. So when we gave our session, it was probably the most well-attended Backdrop session we've ever given in Drupal camp. Everybody there had already heard of Backdrop. They were curious about it, open-minded. As we were going through some of our talking points, there was a lot of nodding and agreeing coming from the audience. And at the end of it, there were a whole bunch of people that came up to us with great questions afterwards. So I felt like it went probably better than any other talk we've given. And it's almost entirely due to the fact that everybody there already understood what Backdrop was. We didn't have to, convince everybody to attend the session in the first place. They already knew what it was and what they were about to learn about. So that went really well. And then we had a couple of people who hadn't looked at Backdrop in a while, and they were impressed by all of the things we're continuing to change and improve, which is also good. This is why this isn't Drupal 7 long-term support. And on Sunday, we had a sprint, and we got a couple of new contributors. So that was also really good. So I would say fantastic event. I will reach out to maybe Alex since he's interested in writing a blog post about the event, although I imagine letting him work on his current blog post series is probably going to be better for us. But yeah, anyone who has attended that event could write up that blog post. So I'll do it if no one else will. Next events, DrupalCorn, I think is on our calendar. DrupalCorn is in Iowa. It's not on the calendar. It is September 27th through 30th. We'll make sure it ends up on the calendar. If anyone is interested in attending DrupalCorn, it's a great event, good people. And then after that, we have Drupal South, or also Badcamp isn't on here. Who's responsible for this calendar? And Badcamp always has a backdrop summit. So we are currently getting feedback on what people want to talk about or see or do at the Badcamp Summit. So if you're planning on coming to Badcamp and you want to attend the Backdrop Summit, what is it that you're most interested in Backdrop? We'll probably do some sort of a showcase. It might be like different sites. It might be one site in detail. We'll probably do a little bit of a presentation. We might do some upgrade code example stuff. Just generally, what is it you want to know? And we'll try to make that happen. And then if you're curious about events in the area, you can obviously check out our events page on backdropsummits.org. Events in your area.
About a year and a half ago, during my Christmas holiday in Greece, there was I live in a small town, and there was a local WordPress sort of like meetup. But the person who was organizing it, actually, he's hanging around. I think he uses the nickname Dryer. So he organized. He invited people that would work in Typo. What is the name of the CMS? Typo 3, whatever. And then also Joomla. And I also presented Backdrop. And this time I'm also going for 6 weeks, which makes it a great opportunity. So there might be something, but it's going to be local. Like it's a small town, 100 and something thousand people population. But yeah, if I manage to find some time, I will do that as well.
That's the end of our agenda for today. Does anyone have anything else we should discuss?
See how we've been using as a sort of like as a point each time that we mention why the move to Backdrop or why the reason for Backdrop to exist, and everybody keeps mentioning the hosting post. There is at least here locally, what I've seen with the people that I work with, a trend to be converting these 7 sites to use Composer and use unified environments for local development, like using Docker and Lando and the dev and stuff like that. And this actually happened yesterday, last night. One of the developers that's remote complained about his computer not being up to the specs to run the whole thing. It just slowed down to a crawl. So it's not just the hosting of the actual live site. It does add a burden to the local development, like especially maybe undeveloped countries. You can't walk up to people and say it's time to buy a new computer. Like this is so inconsiderate. And I think that this is actually happening because it actually happened. So yeah, maybe that's worth mentioning as one of the points, during our slides or our presentations.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Well, it's not an idea. It's like, yeah, if you see it that way, it's another sort of like point that we can make, but it's actually it's reality. That's what's happening. Like
no, I mean, I think the slides.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Anything else we should talk about today?
think of anything.
Okay, well, we are going to meet again in 10 minutes. So if there's anything outreach related that comes up in the next 10 minutes that you want to add, we can definitely talk about at the end of the next meeting.
Yep.
But thanks for coming. Thanks for all the great ideas on everything today, Gregory. It's great to have you involved again.
Good to be
At full
involved.
speed.
I'm actually on.
All right. See you guys soon.
See ya.